Deciding food and coffee could wait until I'd freshened up in the restroom, and by freshen up, I mean pull myself together, I wandered off to find the closest one. Staring out of the airport window at Camelback Mountain, I wished to be as far from Phoenix as possible, as quickly as possible. That was really the root of my frustration, and a little mortification began to set in as I made my way into the ladies' room. I'd just taken my emotional turmoil out on a Scottish stranger. Sure, the guy was terminally rude, but I'd turned it into a situation. Normally, I would have responded by calmly asking the agent when the next flight to Boston was, and if there was a first-class seat available on that flight. But I was just so desperate to go home. After using the facilities, I washed up and stared long and hard into the mirror. I longed to splash cold water on my face, but that would mean ruining the makeup I'd painstakingly applied that morning. Checking myself over, I teased my fingers through the waves I'd put in my long blonde hair with my straightening iron. Once I was happy with it, I turned my perusal on my outfit. The red suit was one of the nicest I owned, a double-breasted peplum jacket and a matching knee-length pencil skirt. Since the jacket looked best closed, I was only wearing a light silk ivory camisole underneath it. I didn't even know why I'd packed the suit, but I'd been wearing black for the last few days, and the red felt like an act of defiance, or a cry for help. Or maybe, more likely, an act of denial. Although I had a well-paid job with an exclusive interior design company as one of their designers, it was expensive to live in Boston. The diamond tennis bracelet on my wrist was a gift on my 18th birthday from an ex-boyfriend. For a while, I'd stopped wearing it, but exuding an image of success to my absurdly wealthy and successful clients was important, so when I started my job, I dug the bracelet out of storage, had it cleaned up, and it had sat on my wrist ever since. Lately, just looking at it cut me to the quick. Flinching, I tore my gaze from where it winked in the light on my arm to my right wrist, where my Gucci watch sat. It was a bonus from my boss, Stella, after my first year on the job. As for the black suede Jimmy Choos on my feet, with their sexy stiletto and cute ankle strap, they were one of many I was in credit card debt over. If I lived anywhere but Boston, I would have been able to afford as many Choos as I wanted on my 6-figure salary, but my salary went into my hefty monthly rent bill. It was a cute 600-square-foot apartment, but it was in Beacon Hill, Mount Vernon Street to be exact, a mere few minutes' walk from Boston Common. It also cost me just over $4,000 a month in rent. That didn't include the rest of my bills. I had enough to put some savings away after the tax man took his cut too, but I couldn't afford to indulge in the Choos I wanted. So yes, I'd reached the age of 30 with some credit card debt to my name. But I guess that made me like most of my fellow countrymen and women, right? I stared at my immaculate reflection, ignoring the voice in my head that said some of those folks had credit card debt because of medical bills, or because they needed to feed their kids that week. Not so they could live in a ridiculously overpriced area of Boston, no matter how much I loved it there, or wear designer shoes so their clients felt like they were dealing with someone who understood their wants better. I bypassed the thought, not needing to mentally berate myself any more than I had since arriving back in Phoenix. I was perfectly happy with my life before I came home. Perfectly happy with my perfect apartment, and my perfect hair, and my perfect shoes. Perfect was good. I straightened my jacket and grabbed hold of the handle of my carry-on. Perfect was control. Staring at the pretty picture I made in the mirror, I felt myself relax. If that gate agent had been into women, I so would have gotten that first-class seat. But forget it, I whispered. It was done. I was going to go back out there and get a much-needed delicious Mediterranean-style salad and sandwich from one of my favorite food stops in Phoenix, Olive and Ivy. Feeling better at the thought, I relaxed. Once I stopped being hangry, it would all be fine.